Hey everybody, so today we're going to be making a late night video on is GOREDRINKER good on Aatrox again? In order to solve that question, we're going to ask the questions, is GOREDRINKER good right now? Is GOREDRINKER good on Aatrox again? Why is GOREDRINKER good on Aatrox? Well, in order to answer those questions, I can look no further than, well, let's just go look at GOREDRINKER's patch notes here. Now, I was originally going to do this video with like editing and like plays and a bunch of that, but I've been playing Starfield for like 5 days straight now, and let me tell you, I don't have time to edit a video, but I did want to get a video talking about GOREDRINKER on Aatrox. I originally had this video half edited 5 days ago, but then I never finished it because I'm really lazy. It would have done really good if I get it out 5 days ago, but instead of that, you guys have to settle for this video. Yeah, once I'm done with Starfield, we'll do some other stuff. So basically, GOREDRINKER has been buffed a lot, and lethality items have been buffed a lot. Now, the thing about Aatrox is he heals based on the amount of damage he does, okay? Now, that makes lethality items really, really good on Aatrox because they make him do more damage. Lethality items have been pretty overtuned as of late, because Riot was trying to force a high damage meta. In addition, GOREDRINKER was undertuned because Riot was trying to push bruisers away from actually building like bruisers, and for some reason wanted to build like one-shot champions. Well, Riot then seemingly rescinded on that and was like, actually, no. Now we want bruisers to build like bruisers again, and now we don't want them to build with lethality. Cool. Interesting. Thanks, Riot. So what they did recently is they did push Aatrox into doing magic damage with his passive and magic damage with his infernal chains. Now, in addition to this buffing his laning phase, because you need to remember that doing magic damage early game and late game, doing magic damage is basically always better for Aatrox. Always. It's basically always better for every champion in the game. In fact, in order for physical damage to outdamage magical damage, you would need to be triple stacking penetration, which some champions obviously can do. Some lethality champions obviously can do. But Aatrox is now opened to doing other builds that don't triple stack lethality and armor pen and that sort of thing. In addition, this makes it so Aatrox in the early game doesn't get hard countered by things like Bramblevest. Well, it didn't really hard counter him, but it very much did counter him, right? So one of the things about lethality with Aatrox in particular was that you kind of needed to go some armor pen and things like that in case people went into armor items. Well, now you don't. This makes GOREDRINKER significantly better because he has now the access to magic damage early game, so he doesn't need to stack early game armor pen. In addition, he doesn't need to stack armor pen at all. So in 13.1b, they did change the GOREDRINKER mythic passive to 50 health and 3 ability haste. I overall consider that a buff, and it almost even... Well, no, I would say it was a buff, but it didn't really go anywhere. Then in patch 13.10, they increased the mythic passive to 75 HP. 75 HP and 3 ability haste is possibly the best mythic passive in the game, and it does help GOREDRINKER scale. It helps it scale a lot. Now, when this happened, GOREDRINKER was almost good on Aatrox. It was like almost there. It was like almost his best item. But then Duskblight happened. GOREDRINKER was like kind of going even with Eclipse, but like was a little bit weaker. But then Duskblight was just way better than Eclipse. It like wasn't even close, right? So when that happened, Duskblight just totally left GOREDRINKER in the trash, and there was no reason to ever even try to build GOREDRINKER Aatrox. But then, here we go in patch 13.17, the health on GOREDRINKER went from 400 to 300. And in addition to that, we can see on this very patch where GOREDRINKER went up 100 HP, Aatrox's passive and his W became magic damage. So now, if you rush GOREDRINKER, you can still get magic damage to help bypass and deal with armor stacked up enemies. Does everybody get that? Now, GOREDRINKER, I want to read through this in particular because some of you guys might not know why GOREDRINKER does so good on Aatrox. Some people think, GOREDRINKER healing, good on Aatrox. Yes, that's one part of the issue, but the other thing is that he just has a lot of synergy with the item. It does 175% base AD, and then it heals you in an AoE. Does everybody know how Aatrox synergizes with that? Well, let me tell you. Aatrox heals based on the amount of damage he deals, which includes GOREDRINKER. That's right. Aatrox heals in his ultimate at level 13 with his full ranks and his E. Aatrox does heal 36% of damage dealt by GOREDRINKER. Then he magnifies the healing by the GOREDRINKER's flat healing, or I should say pre-mitigation healing. It's the healing it does is increased by 25 to 45%, and then he increases the healing he gets from the damage he deals with GOREDRINKER. That's why GOREDRINKER Aatrox will tend to heal kind of even to this day, even after the 20 nerfs to GOREDRINKER and the 20 nerfs to Aatrox healing, he's not going to be healing like, 2,000-3,000 HP on GOREDRINKER, no. But he still will be healing. He can heal up to like 1,000 good HP if he hits a good GOREDRINKER late game, right? So GOREDRINKER has always had this synergy with Aatrox. In addition to that, Aatrox has always had good level 18 damage. His level 1 damage is pretty shit, but his level 18 damage has always been pretty good. So the longer in the game you get, the more base damage Aatrox will have, so the better he starts synergizing, obviously, with GOREDRINKER. Now, base damage is kind of power creeped recently, so like a lot of champions are up here with Aatrox's base damage. He used to have one of the highest base damages in the game. Now he's got one of the highest base damages in the game. Technically, both are true, but, being like top 3 is different than being like top 10. You know what I mean? Especially when like the difference between Aatrox and other champions, it used to be like Aatrox had like 20 more level 18 damage. Now he's got like 5 more. So you know what I mean? Okay. So he doesn't get countered by armor as much. GOREDRINKER itself got significantly buffed. And what has that done for Aatrox? Well, obviously we've seen, and let me show you the stats here. If we look at, I'm going to start at actually Platinum Plus. We can see here at Platinum Plus, so this would be your more low ranks. In fact, let's just go to all ranks. We look at all ranks. GOREDRINKER has a 22% pick rate. Duskblade has a 40% pick rate. Duskblade tends to have about the same win rate. So at the low ranks, you don't see really much of a difference. However, here's one of the issues. I think low rankers in total are bad at Aatrox overall, but that wouldn't explain the win rate difference between the items. The win rate difference between the items is because your average player who builds an item with an on-hit doesn't know how to use that on-hit. Or I shouldn't say on-hit, the active. There we go, active. The average player who builds an item with an active doesn't know how to use that active. They often will forget how to use it. They will use it at a suboptimal time. They don't know what abilities they can cancel out of to use it. They don't know like little tricks they can do with the active of the item. GOREDRINKER on Aatrox can do a lot of little tricks, a lot of little things to kind of make it very, very powerful. The low ranking people definitely wouldn't know how to do that. So as we go to Platinum, GOREDRINKER gets a higher win rate, higher pick rate. We go to Emerald, it gets a higher pick rate, higher win rate. Once we get to Diamond, we can see that GOREDRINKER actually overtakes all the other lethality items. Every other item, it overtakes all of them and has a higher pick rate. So it is pretty much set in stone right now that GOREDRINKER as an item is just better than these other items for being built. Now, the other question you might be having then is, okay, well, sure, at one item, GOREDRINKER might be better because Aatrox has magic damage early game because it power spikes with 400 health now. But, as we get into the later game, does GOREDRINKER continue to perform well? And, well, yeah, obviously it does. We can see here that the overall best, let's call it rush build, if you want to call it that. The overall best rush build, here we go back to Emerald Plus, and these are like the 3-item build pass. Now these pick rates are starting to get pretty low, so like don't pay too much attention to the win rates. We can see overall like the best rush build is still Duskblade, Serilda's Black Cleaver, but the problem with this is that despite being like very damaging and very powerful, this build suffers from the issue that if you don't close the game out, you tend to end up very squishy. It also suffers from if you aren't ahead, like if you haven't gotten a lead, then you tend to be very squishy. The GOREDRINKER builds, on the other hand, tend to just be very powerful. They tend to have very little weakness. In addition, GOREDRINKER, Black Cleaver, Aatrox is just a very, 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 very powerful build right now. I actually prefer GOREDRINKER into Serilda's into Aatrox, but I'll talk about that later once I actually look into some things. Basically, as you can see here through these item builds, GOREDRINKER with its insanely powerful mythic passive has basically, there's basically nothing you can do with GOREDRINKER to end up with a low win rate at 3 items. It's just very powerful at all points in time. It basically, yeah. So GOREDRINKER equals out to other items, like if you first item it, often being better than other items you one item it. And the only build that seems to consistently outperform GOREDRINKER is the pure damage builds we can see here. The pure damage builds seem to outperform GOREDRINKER a little bit, but the thing is, the only people who go 1, 2, 3 damage items are people who are ahead and are already winning the game. So if you're already winning the game and you happen to go with that item build because you just want to do the most damage, that build tends to do good. But that's not really consistent or anything, okay? And we can see if we go into Diamond Plus, we can see GOREDRINKER it's starting to overtake all the other item builds while also still maintaining pretty consistently good win rates. If we like average out the win rates of all the different Gore Drinker builds, we can see that it's like mid to low 60%, whereas other items, if we like average them together, would be like 60% or lower. So that's just one thing I want to talk about. So basically, we have Gore Drinker is now, and this is just me. I've played the item personally. My opinion, before I even looked at the stats, was Gore Drinker was just significantly better. If you guys go back and if you did watch my streams, you guys ever want to watch my streams, that's cool too. But if you did watch my streams, I was playing Gore Drinker Aatrox, and I believe I was just, these are my custom games where I like experiment with videos. Yeah, I was just doing pretty good. I was doing pretty good when the day right before I played Starfield, I played a bunch of Gore Drinker Aatrox. So I'm not just making this up, by the way. I'm not just like putting on a video and being like, I didn't even try this build and here's my opinion because I need to put out content. Like obviously I did try this build. I did play with a lot, and let me tell you, Gore Drinker into Serylda's into Sterix was doing so amazingly good. I did try Gore Drinker into Spear Session as well. It was I was gonna win this game anyway, no matter what I did. So it's kind of to get that. So there are a couple things I do want to talk about with Aatrox. So like, what do I recommend? What do I want to do? Let me go through that right now. The best skin for Aatrox, by the way, is Prestige Blood Moon Aatrox 2022. The best rune build by default, in my opinion, is probably this. Obviously, you can change to bone plating. Obviously, you can change to alacrity. Obviously, you can change to magic resist depending on what you're doing. But I just like putting that into videos because some people always ask for runes and things like that, and that's just kind of helpful. Like you watch through my video. So let's talk about this, okay? So obviously, Gore Drinker gives you good, or I should say, decent wave clear. Let's call it that. Decent wave clear because it's got the active, which can also help kill waves. It's got the Omnivamp, which isn't that useful on the champion overall, but can help you heal up a little bit on the minion waves. It's really tanky, coming in at 400 HP, meaning it's hard for opponents to kill you before you can get off your healing, meaning that if you fall behind, meaning that you're not fed, meaning if you're just even with your opponents, they can't just rush you down as a form of killing you. You can't just have Malphite ults, ignites, and then just starts clapping you, right? Okay. So I just want to talk about that really quick. So looking at items as a whole, I think by default most people go like Black Cleaver second. I actually, here's my opinion, and I'm gonna be a bit weird about this. I actually think Serylda's is better second than Black Cleaver. I think that's true. I think Black Cleaver is not weak at all. Like I don't look at Black Cleaver and think it's a weak item. But I actually think Serylda's second is actually a little bit better. Now it depends on who you're fighting and what you're doing, because obviously into a lot of matchups, into a lot of different situations, that 400 HP on Black Cleaver is actually really good, right? And particularly like once you get to Sterix Gauge, Gore Drinker to Black Cleaver into Sterix gives you a 1184 health shield. The problem is the Sterix Gauge shield does rapidly decay, so the thing is, the bigger the shield, the less it will actually do, like, in addition, so to speak. Because like going from a 1,000 health shield to a 2,000 health shield, you might think, oh, it's double the shield. Well, it's not double the shield. It might be like 50% more of the shield. Because you pop it, a bunch of it breaks, and it starts decaying, and you're not really going to get that full amount. And I just feel like throwing that out there because some people don't really know that. So this is, I think by default, this is what a lot of people do on Aatrox right now. Gore Drinker, Black Cleaver, Sterix Gauge. You would have this by about, let's say, level 13, right? So by level 13, you have this item. You'd be coming out to 3,379 HP. That's a lot of HP for level 13. You're going to heal a lot. I need to get my health down here. You can see I have a lot of health. Like a lot. Okay, so you can see I can heal a lot here. Like even if I'm not in my form or my ultimate, I just pop a Gore Drinker. Boom, boom, there's some good healing. Not like, oh my god, it's not like I'm going to out-heal, 3 people beating the shit out of me, but, between the Sterix Shield, between the Gore Drinker healing, between Aatrox's healing, between my passive and all that stuff, it's pretty good healing for Aatrox. So I think by default, this is what a lot of people do. My personal opinion is, I struggle to say this, but I actually think the Serylda's is a bit better. I think so. Now you end up with obviously less health. Your Sterix Gauge obviously ends up shielding for less, but The 800 shield is still a pretty big shield. It's hard for people to like get you down to a third, then burst you, like to break the shield, then out damage your healing that you're now doing. Like it's hard for many people to do that, right? And the thing with this build too is Gore Drinker will proc Serylda's Gauge. You can see that right there. That means you can pump a Gore Drinker. So like if you have like a Q chain going, like, oh, there's my Q1, right? And like you want to hit your Q2, you can Gore Drinker to set up an easy Q2 by slowing them into the Q2. That's pretty good. Yeah. So the big thing here is Serylda's doesn't slow on your W. Or sorry, no, wait. What I'm trying to say here. Black Cleaver doesn't proc on your W. The complete opposite. Serylda still does proc on your W. I just want to say that. I said the wrong item. Black Cleaver doesn't proc on your W because it is magic damage now. So if I show that, we can see I hit him. He gets a stack of Black Cleaver. I hit him with W. No stack of Black Cleaver. Does everybody get that? So Black Cleaver is still obviously really good on Aatrox, but it doesn't stack up on its W right now. So it got a little bit less synergy. Not enough to like, oh my god, it's now a useless thing, but like it did get a little bit less synergy. Whereas, I mean, obviously Serylda's did too, but Black Cleaver and Serylda's both no longer give armor pen to the W and the passive of Aatrox. Now, do mind you, Aatrox's passive, Aatrox's W will always be doing more damage now because there's not a champion in this game who will end up with more magic resist than armor unless they're stacking magic resist. And if you're stacking magic resist into Aatrox, you're not going to have a fun time. Okay, does everybody get that? So some people think that this might have been a nerf because, oh, now his Black Cleaver does bad. No, obviously not. If you do magic damage is better than physical damage. Everybody get that? Okay. So, okay. So we can see here with the Serylda's build, the 1, 2, 3, and I'm only going to talk about the 1, 2, 3 build. We talk about the 1, 2, 3 build. You can slow into your Qs right there, right? You got the slows on your Ws, so early game that works. You got slows on everything, so you can kite away from people. You can heal a lot. You've got a lot of ability haste. If you go with the, let me turn this on right here. If you go with the Black Cleaver route, you end up with 56 ability haste, despite sitting on a Steric's Gauge. So that's a lot of ability haste. That's a lot of health. That's a lot of hardness for the enemy to break through. Either way, this is fine. I just think the Serylda's route is better. Now, if you do go with the Serylda's route, then you might be wondering, okay, what are my next items, right? Like, what can I do? What can I do next? What does Aatrox do well next? And that one's a little bit more difficult. I was gonna go look at like what other people were doing and compare to that. So like, if we look at Masters Plus, and we just look at like what people are doing overall, right? We can see 4th item, most people are going distance. Don't look at the win rates because these numbers are pretty low. So like, let me just do D2 plus just so we can get more numbers here, so people don't freak out as much. So here we have the pick percent. By 4th item, most people are doing like a Distance or a Guardian Angel, maybe a Serylda's. By 5th item, once again, we have Guardian Angel, Distance. We have some Spirit Visages coming up. Spirit Visage did get buffed recently. Spirit Visage went from 40 magic resist to 50 magic resist to 60 magic resist. In addition to that, Gore Drinker gets affected by the Spirit Visage healing increase, so that kind of gives it some synergy. Spirit Visage, I'm gonna say right now, I think Spirit Visage is like buildable now, so long as you actually need magic resist. So long as you actually need magic resist, Spirit Visage is buildable now. But you need to actually need magic resist, okay? You can't just build it into like Yasuo and be like, well, it's got health and bonus healing, so it's good now. Well, no, you have to actually, like, if you're fighting a Rumble or a Malphite or that sort of stuff, then yeah, Spirit Visage 4th item can do pretty good. If you're fighting a team with double or triple mage, yeah, Spirit Visage could be good. But if you're fighting a team that's got like 1 mage, then yeah, probably you're not gonna need Spirit Visage, okay? If you're fighting a team that just does some magic damage, then you're probably not gonna need Spirit Visage. Like, don't build Spirit Visage because they're like, oh, but they have Aurelia. Like, that's... Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? Okay. So we're saying 4th item is obviously a lot of people are going Distance because Distance is, you know, just one of those items that just will always kind of have good synergy with Aatrox, have good synergy with the champion, right? So Distance is always an option. Then last item, boy, this shop is really bad. Last option, a lot of people also can do things like they can stack Spirit Visage and Guardian Angel. Or sorry, Distance and Guardian Angel, because now you can see we're up to 198. We're up to 198 armor. In fact, if I go to level 18, this would be like your level 18 build, right? So we'd have 3,739 HP. Our Aatrox gauge would still be shielding 910. This is where this build can get a little bit more wonky because we've stacked 3 no health items. The Goredrinker is kind of like pulling overtime right now, giving us 700 health, making us still tanky though. So that's one of the advantages, by the way, of Goredrinkers, because it has so much health late game. It can kind of like, it can do this where it's like it's pulling double duty. It's like a damage healing item, but it's also our tank item sitting at 700 HP. At 5 items. So you can see with this build, we end up with like 225 health, or yeah, 225 armor, 3,739 HP. The Aatrox gauge shielding us for 920. So like it's really hard to burst us. We still got the revive, we still got the armor, we still got the slow, we've got a shitload of damage as well. So this could be a potential build. If we go with the Black Cleaver route, this build is also very annoying to fight as well, because we went the Black Cleaver route. Okay, so if we have the Goredrinker, Black Cleaver, Aatrox, Stance, Guardian Angel, once again 225 health, but I went to 4,139 HP. We got the 1,240 shield on the Aatrox gauge, so we're extremely hard to burst. The only problem this build has, in my opinion, Cyrildas will out damage Black Cleaver, so this build can kind of start having I'm not gonna say like damage issues, but it'll start like, if you're fighting squishier champions, you might notice that, like, you know, maybe you're not hitting them as hard. The lack of slow can also start being really noticeable late game. This build doesn't tend to have a lot of ability haste. Other items I've looked at, obviously, would be things like Hullbreaker. Hullbreaker is pretty good. Allows you to split push. Makes you extremely tanky. So like if you went Hullbreaker in this build, you would end up, I mean, look at this armor, magic resist with no distance even. I mean, you're over 200 armor, 142 magic resist off those Hullbreaker stats. You got that 4,463 HP. Your Aatrox gauge is massive. So like this build, if you're trying to like split push and you know you can beat your opponent on split push, maybe you do this build, but then you like top it off with like a Cyrildas. So you got the double pen, right? You got the percent pen and the percent pen. So this build comes out, you're tanky on the split push. You can you still have a lot of ability haste coming in at 82, so it's 45% cooldown reduction, right? So this build could also work if you're trying to split push, things like that. Other than that, I mean, your items are pretty much going to be your items, right? Like most games are going to end around 3 items. So like once you have your core build, after that you're just trying to like accentuate what you're doing that game, right? Like, okay, so am I dying a lot in team fights? Am I being focused? Guardian Angel can make it really annoying to actually have to focus someone down, right? Like, okay, am I killing people? Do I need to carry more? You get the distance, makes you tankier against physical damage, makes you able to heal a little bit more in team fights, shrug off damage, maybe type yourself off. Are you just snowballing? So if you're snowballing, you can combo the Black Cleaver and the Cyrildas. Just go with the double pen, because you have enough HP anyway, realistically speaking, right? Like the Goredrinker is pulling triple duty right now. It is making you one tanky son of a bitch, right? Spirit Ocean is an item. I'm not sure I would recommend it. That's about all I can say for Spirit Ocean. It clearly was not made for a champion like Aatrox. It clearly was not made for him. It's more for champions who need mobility, champions who don't have all their abilities. Because like the thing is, Aatrox's W and his Q, both of these abilities, his W and his Q, get only the half ability haste from Spirit Ocean. So when you look at it like that, it's basically cosplaying Black Cleaver with more base stats and no armor pen. Now that's fine, I guess, but now we're paying 3,300 for what if Black Cleaver, but no armor pen and more base stats. I mean, that's fine. Like if you're doing this Black Cleaver build, maybe you just want to get a comically large Aatrox gauge, right? Maybe you just want to do that. And then maybe you could top that off with a Hullbreaker. So now you have movement speed if you're at low HP. Now you've got a lot of ability haste. I mean, even though we're only getting half ability haste, like, you know, our Q cooldown's down to 3, or W cooldown's down to 6. Like, it's fine. It's just like, to me, and I think most other people looking at it, Spirit Ocean is just like not showing up on the radar. I know a lot of people are asking about it. That's why I'm putting so much like time into answering it. It just doesn't really. It's like you have to remember, every item has an opportunity cost, because I'm not building an item. I'm not building another item. Sure, I might be building Spirit, but if I'm building Spirit, that means I'm not building Cyrildas. That means I'm not building Hullbreaker. That means I'm not building Guardian Angel. That means I'm not building Spirit Visage. Do you understand? So, is Spirit better than these other items? You know, when we compare Spirit to Distance, it might look good with that 500 HP, I'll admit, and maybe it ends up becoming like a decent secondary. But you know, you also have to consider what the stance is doing, right? So I'm not striking out Spirit entirely. Like, I definitely think there could be a situation where it's good, but like particularly once we start getting this late into the game, getting some armor, getting some armor or getting some magic resist to kind of cover our health, because the thing is we're gonna start having lots of health, right? So like, getting armor or getting magic resist to cover that giant health pool is going to start outperforming just getting more health pool. Do you get it? Okay. So that's what I would say is Aatrox's best builds right now. I would say that's a pretty good way to look at it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, that's great. If you didn't, leave a comment down below, because you know what they say. Good comments, bad comments, they both drive the algorithm. So thank you all for talking about GOREDRINKER Aatrox with me and talking about potential Aatrox builds with me. I think I went over basically every item. I don't really like Chempung Chainsword. I think, to be honest, if I need to deal with a champion who's healing, I think most of the time it's better to just go double pen and do more damage to them. Because especially because, like, if they're healing a lot and I build double pen, that helps me kill them, and it also helps me kill like their allies. Now obviously there's some champions for sure who like you want to get a healing debuff to, especially like if you're building to 1v1 because you're just split pushing against someone like Alawi, then yeah, I mean in that situation sure, maybe Chempung Chainsword is good, right? So like maybe if I'm fighting against Alawi, right, maybe in that situation I could pull off like a Chempung Chainsword and a Hullbreaker. So maybe like if I'm splitting against Alawi, I could do like a weird janky build like this. We still come out to like 44% ability haste. We've got the Cyrildas, we've got the Chainsword, so we can slow Alawi, we can try to kite her, we can have these low cooldowns on our E's to try to dodge out everything. We're still like pretty tanky against her abilities. We have the healing debuff. So like Chempung Chainsword, okay. So anyway, thank you for watching, thank you for being here, thank you everybody. I hope this helped you guys talk about Aatrox a little bit more, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Goodbye, everybody.